As we departed Istanbul over the Bosphorus Bridge, we crossed from Europe into Asia, many of us for the first time. Our route took us eastwards toward the Turkish capital of Ankara, but we stopped about 110 kilometers short of there for our first night's camp in Asia. The next morning we bypassed Ankara and headed on to Kerman for a lunch stop. By evening we reached the Cappadocia region, where we set up camp in a tourist campsite just outside the town of Urgup. We had a couple of days at Urgup to catch up with laundry, letter writing, and of course exploring that fascinating part of Turkey. Before we left the camp at Urgup, we posed for this group photo. We continued eastwards for another long day's drive. When darkness fell, we were nowhere near any campsite, so we set up a free camp in the hills. It was a cold night, and we were glad to be on the road again the next morning, looking for somewhere to have breakfast. Stops for breakfast and lunch in Turkey usually involved a visit to a local tea shop, where we were always warmly welcomed by the locals. The next day we reached the Iranian border at Varzagan, where we were advised to stop for the night by the border police. We hadn't known what to expect in Iran so soon after the overthrow of the Shah, so we accepted the advice to camp next to the police barracks. However, as we continued east towards Tehran, there was nothing to worry us. In fact, for me, Iran was a very pleasant surprise, both in terms of the scenery and the friendliness of the people. We travelled on to Marand for a lunch stop, and then on to Zanjan, where we arrived fairly late and with a dust storm brewing, so we stayed the night in a small hotel and ate out locally. The next day we arrived on the outskirts of Tehran at lunchtime and then turned south to drive down past the town of Qom, the birthplace of Ayatollah Khomeini. We continued on into the desert until it got dark, when we pulled off the road to Free Camp. The next day we reached the beautiful city of Isfahan in southern Iran and set up camp in the large government-run campsite on the outskirts. We enjoyed another rest stop here for a few days, and after the long journey through the desert were particularly glad of the wonderful showers that the campsite provided.